I arrived at Marchetti's that evening expecting a normal family dinner. My mother had called 3 days earlier, insisting everyone needed to be there for something special. I was 32 years old, running my own consulting business, paying my own bills, living my own life. I walked through those heavy wooden doors into the dim lighting and saw my whole family already gathered. My father stood near the host stand in his expensive suit. My brother Travis was there with his wife Amanda. My sister Angela had brought her husband Derek. Then my mother appeared, smiling brightly, and gestured toward a small table pushed against the side wall. 2 teenagers sat there, my nephew and niece, picking at breadsticks. She said I should sit with them at the kids' area. Meanwhile, everyone else moved toward the large main table set with wine glasses and fancy place settings. My father laughed and said when I finally grew up and settled down, maybe then I could join the adults. Something inside me went cold. I stood there for maybe 5 seconds, feeling every eye in that restaurant on me. Then, I carefully placed my napkin on the kids' table, turned without saying a word, and walked straight out the door into the night air. My hands gripped the steering wheel as I drove home through the dark streets of suburban Connecticut. The dashboard clock read 8:15. My phone started buzzing before I even reached the highway. Text after text lit up the screen. I ignored them all, focusing on the white lines of the road, trying to steady my breathing. When I finally pulled into my apartment complex 20 minutes later, I grabbed my phone. 17 messages. Most were from Travis. The first one said I was overreacting. The second called me immature. The third said I had embarrassed the entire family. Angela had sent 5 messages, each one more accusatory than the last. She wrote that I always made everything about myself, that I could never just go along with things, that Mom was probably crying because of me. I climbed the stairs to my second-floor apartment, unlocked the door, and tossed my keys on the kitchen counter. The place was quiet. I poured 2 fingers of bourbon into a glass and sat on my couch, staring at the blank television screen. My phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Travis. Declined. Then Angela. Declined. Then a number I did not recognize. I almost answered, thinking maybe it was a client, but decided against it. I opened the family group chat. 38 new messages. I scrolled through them quickly. Travis had written that I ruined Mom's special night. Angela said I was acting like a spoiled child. Even Derek, who barely spoke in family settings, had chimed in to say I should apologize. My father had not written anything. That felt worse somehow. I took a long drink of bourbon and started typing. My fingers moved across the screen deliberately, choosing each word with care. I wrote that I was a grown man who had built a successful business, owned his own home, paid his own way through life, and deserved basic respect from his family. I explained that being relegated to a kids' table like some awkward teenager while my married siblings sat at the adult table was humiliating and unacceptable. I said I would not tolerate being treated as less than because I had chosen a different life path. Then I hit send and set my phone face down on the coffee table. Silence for maybe 90 seconds. Then my phone exploded with notifications, buzzing continuously like an angry hornet. I picked it up and saw message after message flooding in. Travis wrote that I was being dramatic. Angela said I was selfish. Amanda, Travis's wife, wrote that I needed to grow up and stop causing problems. Then my phone rang again. Dad. I stared at his name on the screen for 3 rings before letting it go to voicemail. A minute later, the voicemail notification appeared. I almost deleted it without listening. Something made me press play. My father's voice came through the speaker, cold and measured. No emotion, just words delivered like a business transaction. Since you want to act like a child throwing a tantrum, we are cutting you out of the family trust. Your siblings are mature, married, building families. You are just lost. Do not bother coming to any more family events until you learn some respect. We are done enabling your Peter Pan lifestyle. This is what consequences look like, Fidel. Grow up. The voicemail ended. I sat there holding my phone, trying to process what I had just heard. The family trust. My grandfather had died 8 years ago and left money to be split 3 ways between me, Travis, and Angela. The trust was worth roughly $600,000, $200,000 for each of us. I had never focused much on that money because I was doing fine on my own, but knowing it was there had always provided a certain security, a safety net. Now my father was threatening to remove me from it entirely. Over a dinner seating arrangement, I called my father back. He answered on the first ring. "Did you actually just threaten to cut me out of Grandpa's trust?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I did not threaten anything, Fidel. I told you what is happening. You disrespected your mother in public. You walked out on a family dinner she planned for weeks. There are consequences for your behavior. I am 32 years old, Dad. I do not need to sit at a kid's table. You need to learn that family comes first. Until you understand that, until you show some maturity and respect, you are not welcome. And yes, that includes the trust. Your siblings have proven themselves. You have not. Grandpa left that money for all three of us. Your grandfather is dead. I am the trustee. I make the decisions now. Sign the papers agreeing to be removed from the distribution, or we will contest your inclusion based on your unstable lifestyle and lack of family commitment. Either way, you are out." He hung up. I sat in the dark living room, bourbon glass empty, phone in my hand, trying to understand how a dinner invitation had turned into this. My family was not just angry. They were weaponizing my inheritance, threatening my financial security, attempting to force me into submission by holding money over my head. The apartment suddenly felt smaller, the walls closer. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the parking lot below, at the ordinary cars and ordinary lives, and wondered how everything had gone so wrong so fast. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Travis. Just 3 words. "You brought this on yourself." I turned my phone off completely and went to bed, but sleep did not come for a long time. Morning light came through the bedroom blinds too early. I had maybe slept 3 hours total, my mind replaying the dinner, the voicemail, the threat about the trust. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and powered it back on. 6:43 in the morning. Immediately, notifications started pouring in, but one email stood out. Sent at 6:02 in the morning from Gary, my business partner. The subject line read, "Urgent. Call me now." My stomach dropped. I dialed Gary before even getting out of bed. He answered on the first ring, his voice tight with stress. "Fidel, we have a major problem. Hartwell Corporation just terminated our contract. I got the email an hour ago. Effective immediately. They are pulling out of everything." I sat up, suddenly completely awake. Hartwell Corporation was our biggest client. They represented 40% of our total revenue. We had 3 ongoing projects with them worth nearly $200,000 over the next 6 months. What? Why? What reason did they give? The email was vague. Something about restructuring priorities and reallocating resources. But Fidel, this makes no sense. We just had a progress meeting with them on Friday. Everything was fine. They were happy with our work. This came out of nowhere. I threw off the covers and started pacing my bedroom. "Did you call anyone there? Talk to our contact?" I tried. Nobody is answering. I left 3 voicemails. "I will make some calls. There has to be an explanation." We hung up and I immediately started dialing. First, the project manager at Hartwell, then the director of operations, then the VP we had initially pitched. Every call went to voicemail. Every email bounced back with out-of-office replies. Something was very wrong. I got dressed quickly, made coffee, and spent the next 2 hours trying to reach anyone at Hartwell who could explain what happened. Finally, at 9:30, my phone rang. It was Brian, a mid-level manager at Hartwell I had worked with on smaller projects. We had grabbed beers a few times, built a decent professional friendship. "Brian, thank God. What is going on? Why did you guys terminate our contract?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line. "Fidel, I am calling from my personal phone because I should not be telling you this. But I like you, and what happened is not fair." My grip tightened on the phone. "What happened?" "Your father called our CEO yesterday afternoon. Richard and your dad apparently play golf together. I do not know exactly what was said, but the word came down from the executive level that we needed to cut ties with your firm immediately. Something about concerns regarding your business practices and reliability." The room tilted. "My father did what?" "I am sorry, man. I argued against it. Your work has always been solid. But when the CEO makes a decision like that, especially based on personal relationships, there is nothing anyone can do. The official reason they are giving is budget restructuring, but that is not true. This was personal. Brian, this is going to destroy my business. 40% of our revenue just disappeared. I know. I am really sorry. If there was anything I could do, I would. But my hands are tied. I just wanted you to know the real reason, so you were not left wondering. We hung up, and I stood in my kitchen, coffee mug in hand, trying to process what I had just learned. My father had deliberately sabotaged my business, not just threatened my inheritance, actually picked up the phone and destroyed a major client relationship out of spite, out of revenge for walking out of a dinner. I called my father immediately. He answered after 4 rings, his voice casual, almost cheerful. Fidel, have you reconsidered your behavior? You called Hartwell Corporation. You got them to drop our contract. Silence for 3 seconds. Then, I have many business relationships, Fidel. I use them as I see fit. You disrespected your mother. There are consequences for your actions. Maybe losing this contract will teach you that family comes first, and you need to grow up. You are destroying my business because I walked out of a dinner. I am teaching you a lesson. You think you can just do whatever you want without consequences? You think you can humiliate your family and face no repercussions? This is the real world. Actions have consequences. Come back to the family, apologize properly, sign the trust papers, and maybe I will make some calls to help you get new clients. Or keep being stubborn and watch everything you built fall apart. Your choice. He hung up. I stood there holding my dead phone, rage and panic mixing in my chest. My father was not just angry. He was actively working to destroy me, to force me into submission by dismantling my livelihood piece by piece. An hour later, Gary called again. His voice sounded different, flat, defeated. Fidel, I need to talk to you about something. Can we meet? We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near our office. I arrived first, ordered black coffee I did not drink, and waited at a corner table. Gary walked in 10 minutes later looking exhausted. He sat down heavily across from me. I have been thinking about this all morning, he started, not meeting my eyes. With Hartwell gone, we are in serious financial trouble. We have payroll to meet, office rent, ongoing expenses. I ran the numbers. Without that revenue, we are going to be operating at a loss within 2 months. I know, but we can find new clients. We can pitch to other companies. We have a good reputation. Gary shook his head slowly. Fidel, my wife is pregnant. She is due in 4 months. I cannot risk everything on a failing business right now. I got a job offer last month from a consulting firm in Boston. I turned it down because things were good here, but I called them this morning. The position is still open. They want me to start in 2 weeks. The words hit me like cold water. You are leaving the partnership? I have to. I have a family to support. I cannot gamble with their security. I am sorry, Fidel. I really am. But I need stability right now. Gary, we built this company together. 5 years of work. I know. And I feel terrible about this. But I have to think about my wife and my kid. I cannot watch this business sink and take my family down with it. He stood up, put his hand on my shoulder briefly, and walked out of the coffee shop. I sat alone at the table, staring at my untouched coffee, understanding with complete clarity that my father had just destroyed not only my biggest client relationship but also my entire business partnership. Gary was right to leave. Any rational person would make the same choice. But that did not make it hurt any less. My company, the thing I had built from nothing over 5 years, was collapsing. And my father had orchestrated it with a single phone call. I drove back to my apartment in the middle of the day, the streets full of people going about their normal lives, completely unaware that mine was falling apart. The next 3 days passed in a blur of frantic activity. I worked 20-hour days trying to keep projects moving forward without Gary. I reached out to potential new clients, sent dozens of cold emails, made pitch calls to companies I'd been targeting for months. I maxed out 2 credit cards to cover payroll for my 2 remaining employees, hoping I could land new business before the money ran out completely. By Thursday afternoon, I was running on 4 hours of sleep and too much coffee. My phone rang. Angela. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Fidel. Her voice sounded softer than usual, almost concerned. How are you doing? How do you think I am doing, Angela? I heard about your business partner leaving. I am sorry. Are you? Because last time we talked, you were calling me selfish and immature. A pause. I know. I was upset. But I have been thinking about everything. I think Mom and Dad went too far. Especially Dad with the business thing. That was not right. I leaned back in my desk chair, suspicious but desperate for any support. So what? You are on my side now. I want to help. Can we meet for coffee? Just you and me. No parents. I want to talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed. We met the next morning at a Starbucks halfway between our towns. Angela was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 coffees. She looked tired, older than I remembered. She gestured for me to sit. Thank you for coming, she said. I know things have been terrible between all of us. That is an understatement. I talked to Dad. I convinced him to reconsider the trust situation. He is willing to restore you to it. But you need to do something for him first. I felt my defenses go up immediately. What does he want? Angela pulled out a folder from her bag and set it on the table between us. Mom and Dad are planning to invest in a new property development, a strip mall project out near Danbury. They need one more investor to reach their funding target. If you invest $50,000, Dad will restore you to the trust and stop interfering with your business. He sees it as a peace offering, a way for you to show you are mature enough to be a family team player. $50,000? Angela, my business is falling apart. I do not have that kind of liquid cash right now. I know it is a lot, but think about it. You invest now, and you get back into the trust for $200,000. Plus, the property development is a solid investment. They have been doing real estate deals for years. This one has real potential for returns. You would be making money and fixing your family situation at the same time. She opened the folder and showed me paperwork. Investment projections, property surveys, development plans. It all looked legitimate, professional. My parents had done several real estate investments over the years. Some had done well, but something felt off. Why would Dad suddenly be willing to let me back in just because I invest in his project? Because he sees it as you committing to the family, working together instead of always being on the outside. It is not about the money, Fidel. It is about showing you are willing to be part of the team. I studied the papers. The projections showed potential returns of 20 to 30% over 2 years. The development plan looked thorough, and $50,000 to get back into a $200,000 trust, plus stop my father from sabotaging my business, seemed like a logical trade. I need to think about it, I said. Angela leaned forward. Fidel, this offer is not going to last forever. Dad is giving you a chance to make things right. If you walk away from this, I do not think he will give you another opportunity. I took the folder home. I spent the weekend reviewing every page, checking the numbers, researching the property location. Everything seemed to check out. On Monday morning, I transferred $50,000 from my savings account, most of what I had left. I texted Angela confirmation. She responded with a heart emoji and welcome back to the family. For 48 hours, I felt a weight lift. Maybe things were going to work out. Maybe this nightmare was ending. Then, on Wednesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Is this Fidel? A woman's voice. Professional. Serious. Yes. Who is this? My name is Patricia Montgomery. I am an attorney with Davidson and Associates. I am calling to inform you that you have been named as a defendant in a civil lawsuit regarding fraudulent investment practices. You should expect to receive official service of papers within the next few days. My blood went cold. What? What lawsuit? The case involves a property development scheme operated by Derek Sanderson. Multiple investors are alleging fraud, misrepresentation, and misappropriation of funds. Your name appears on investment documents as a participant. I represent several of the plaintiffs. I would strongly advise you to retain legal counsel immediately. She gave me a case number and hung up. I sat frozen at my desk. Derek Sanderson, Angela's husband. the property development. I grabbed the folder Angela had given me and started going through it again, this time with different eyes. I pulled up the county property records online. The parcel number listed on the development plans did not exist. I searched for the development company name. Nothing. No business registration. No permits filed. Nothing. I called Angela immediately. She answered on the third ring. Her voice strained. Fidel. What the hell is going on, Angela? I just got a call from an attorney saying I am being sued over a fraudulent property development scheme. Derek's scheme. Silence. Then, quietly, I did not know it was going to go this far. What does that mean? What did you do? Her voice broke. Derek has been in trouble for months. He ran a property investment that fell through. Other investors wanted their money back. He did not have it. He was desperate. He needed new money to pay back the old investors. I told him about your situation with the family. He came up with the plan to use it as a way to get you to invest. I did not know the whole thing was going to blow up into a lawsuit. I thought he would be able to pay everyone back eventually. I could barely speak. You set me up. You used our family situation to con me into giving money to your husband's failing fraud scheme? He is the father of my children, Fidel. Our marriage is falling apart. He has gambling debts. I was trying to help him. I was trying to save our family. And you destroyed me in the process. That $50,000 was most of my savings, Angela. Now it is gone and I am facing a lawsuit? She was crying now. I am sorry. I am so sorry. Please do not press charges against Derek. Please. If he goes to jail, what happens to my kids? I hung up on her. I sat in my apartment that evening, pulling up every document I could find about the lawsuit. 9 investors had been conned, total losses over $300,000. Derek had been running a Ponzi scheme, using new investor money to pay returns to old investors while gambling away the rest. The whole thing collapsed when he could not bring in enough new money to cover the shortfall. And Angela had knowingly brought me in as a mark, had used my desperation to repair family relationships to manipulate me into handing over $50,000. I called an attorney the next morning. He reviewed the situation and delivered bad news. Even though you were defrauded yourself, the other plaintiffs are naming everyone involved in the investment scheme. They are trying to recover assets anywhere they can. You may be able to defend yourself and prove you were a victim too, but it will be expensive and time-consuming, and the $50,000 is gone. Derek does not have it. Nobody is getting that money back. My business was dying. My family had betrayed me at the deepest level. I had lost $50,000, and now I was facing legal action that could drag on for months or years. I sat in the attorney's office, listening to him explain my options, and realized I had never felt more alone in my entire life. The following week, the lawsuit became public. A journalist who covered local business news wrote an article about the property development scam. The headline read, "Local real estate scheme defrauds multiple investors." My name appeared in the third paragraph, listed among the people who had invested in Derek's operation. The article described us as naive investors who fell for an obvious fraud. I received 3 emails that day from potential clients who had been considering hiring my firm. All 3 politely declined, citing concerns about my judgment and professional reliability. One of them specifically mentioned the article. My 2 remaining employees quit on Friday afternoon. Both gave me the same explanation. They could see the business was sinking. They had bills to pay, families to support, futures to secure. They needed stable employment. I did not blame them. I would have done the same thing in their position. But watching them pack up their desks and walk out of the office left me completely alone. No business partner, no employees, no clients. Just me, in an empty office with 3 months left on a lease I could no longer afford. I drove home that evening through rain that matched my mood. My phone rang as I pulled into my parking space. Travis. I considered not answering, but exhaustion and a faint hope for family support made me pick up. "Fidel, we need to talk," Travis said, his voice neutral. "Mom and Dad want to have a family meeting to resolve everything. Can you come to their house tomorrow evening?" "Why would I do that, Travis?" "So Dad can threaten me some more? So Angela can con me out of what little money I have left? Look, I know things got out of hand, But we are still family. Mom is really upset about all this. She did not want any of it to go this far. Just come to the house. Let us talk like adults. Maybe we can find a way through this mess. I was so tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being angry. Tired of being alone. Against every instinct that told me it was a bad idea, I agreed. Fine. What time? 7 o'clock tomorrow. Just family. No lawyers. No drama. Just talking. I hung up and spent the evening staring at my laptop, at financial spreadsheets showing my business in free fall, at bank accounts draining to nothing, at a future that looked increasingly bleak. The next evening, I drove to my parents' house. The same large colonial where I had grown up. White columns, manicured lawn, 3-car garage. All the markers of success and stability that now felt like a facade, hiding something toxic underneath. I rang the doorbell. My mother answered, her eyes red from crying. She hugged me briefly. I stood stiff in her arms, not returning the gesture. She led me to the dining room where everyone was already gathered. Dad sat at the head of the table, Travis and Amanda on one side, Angela and Derek on the other. 2 empty chairs remained. I took one of them. The room felt suffocating. My father cleared his throat. Thank you for coming, Fidel. I know the last few weeks have been difficult for everyone. Difficult, I repeated flatly. That is one word for it. We want to move forward as a family, my mother said quickly. We want to heal from this. My father pulled a document from a folder in front of him and slid it across the table toward me. We have prepared something that we think will help everyone. A family behavioral contract. If you want back into this family, you will sign this. I picked up the document and started reading. My hands began shaking halfway through the first page. The contract outlined expectations for my behavior. I would publicly apologize for embarrassing the family at the restaurant dinner. I would attend mandatory family therapy sessions, with my parents choosing the therapist. I would agree to consult with my parents before making any major life decisions, including business choices, financial investments, or relationship commitments. This consultation requirement would remain in place until I was married and settled, as determined by my parents' judgment. I would drop any potential legal action against Derek and Angela regarding the investment fraud, agreeing not to cooperate with prosecutors or other plaintiffs. I would attend all family gatherings and events as requested. Failure to comply with any provision would result in permanent removal from the family trust and cessation of all family relationships. I looked up from the paper. You cannot be serious. This is insane. You want me to let you control my entire life like I am a teenager who got caught shoplifting? My father's expression did not change. We are doing this because we love you, Fidel. You have always been the difficult one, the one who could not just fit in and be part of the team. We are trying to help you. This structure will give you the guidance you clearly need. I am 32 years old. I do not need guidance. I need basic respect. My mother reached across the table toward me. Honey, please. We just want what is best for you. We want our family back together. I stood up from the table. I am not signing this. This is controlling and manipulative and completely unreasonable. My father stood as well. Then you leave us no choice. Travis pulled out his phone from his pocket. He tapped the screen a few times, then set it on the table. A recording started playing. My voice, unmistakable, clearly drunk. From a family gathering maybe 3 years ago. Thanksgiving, I thought. I had too much wine and got into an argument with my father about his need to control everything. My recorded voice said harsh things, called them controlling, said I wished I had been born into a different family, said I felt suffocated by their expectations. Words spoken in anger and alcohol. Words I did not entirely remember saying but could not deny were mine. Travis stopped the recording. I kept this, he said quietly, just in case. My father sat back down, folding his hands on the table. If you do not sign this contract and fall in line, we are sending this recording to your remaining business contacts, to the journalist who wrote about the lawsuit, to everyone. We will make sure whatever is left of your reputation is completely destroyed. Your choice, Fidel. Submit to the family, or we bury you. I looked around the table, at my father, cold and determined, at my mother, crying but nodding in agreement. At Travis, holding his phone like a weapon. At Angela, unable to meet my eyes. At Derek, sweating nervously. They were united. Completely. All of them willing to destroy me to force my compliance. "You are all insane," I said quietly. "This is not a family. This is a hostage situation." I walked out of the dining room, through the front door, into the cool evening air. Behind me, I heard my mother calling my name. I kept walking to my car, got in, and drove away. I did not go home. I drove aimlessly through suburban Connecticut for hours, past shopping centers and residential neighborhoods, past the high school I attended, past the park where I learned to ride a bike. Everything looked the same as it always had, but I felt like a stranger in my own hometown. Around midnight, I ended up at a small lake on the edge of town. I parked in an empty lot and sat in my car, staring at moonlight reflecting off dark water. My phone buzzed constantly. Calls from my mother, from my father, from Travis, from Angela. I did not answer any of them. At 1 a.m, a text came through from a number I did not immediately recognize. Then I realized it was my nephew, Jake, 17 years old. The kid who had been sitting at that kid's table with me 3 weeks ago. The text read, "Uncle Fidel, I heard what happened tonight. I was upstairs, but I heard everything through the vent. They are wrong. All of them. I am sorry. But you should know Grandpa just sent the recording to your business email contacts. He did it an hour ago. I saw him on his computer. I am really sorry." I sat holding my phone, reading the message 3 times. My father had actually done it. Had weaponized a private drunken moment from years ago and sent it to my professional network. I opened my email on my phone. Dozens of unread messages. I found the one from my father, sent from his personal email to a mass list of my business contacts. The subject line read, "Character concerns regarding Fidel's business practices." The body of the email was brief. My father wrote that as a concerned parent and longtime member of the business community, he felt obligated to share information about his son's character and judgment. He attached the audio recording. He suggested that anyone considering doing business with me should carefully evaluate my professionalism and stability. I sat in my car by the dark lake and understood that my father had just salted the earth, had taken whatever remained of my professional reputation and burned it to ash. I finally drove home around 2 a.m. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, and collapsed on my couch without turning on any lights. When I woke 6 hours later, my phone showed 43 missed calls and 67 text messages. I ignored all of them and checked my email instead. 3 separate potential clients had sent messages withdrawing interest in working with me. One former colleague wrote a concerned email asking if I was okay and if I needed help. Another wrote asking if the recording was real and if I really felt that way about my family. My business email inbox, which used to get 5 to 10 legitimate inquiries per week, was now full of spam and nothing else. Word had spread. My reputation was destroyed. I checked my bank account. After paying rent that had come due yesterday, I had $8,000 left. That was it. Everything else was gone. Invested poorly, spent on trying to save a dying business, maxed out on credit cards. My landlord called at 10 a.m. The rent check I had written bounced. He was sympathetic, but firm. I had 1 week to pay the full amount, plus a $50 late fee, or he would begin eviction proceedings. He liked me, he said, but he had a business to run. I calculated my remaining options. I could pay rent and have almost nothing left, or I could not pay rent and face eviction. Either way, I was broke. I called Marcus, my college roommate. We had stayed close over the years, despite living in different states. He had moved to Colorado 5 years ago, built a good life out there, always told me I should visit. The phone rang 4 times before he answered. "Fidel, hey man, how are things?" My voice cracked before I could stop it. "Not good, Marcus. Everything is falling apart." I told him the entire story. The dinner, the trust threat, the business sabotage, Angela's betrayal, the lawsuit, the recording, all of it. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then, "Come stay with me. Get out of there. You need to rebuild away from those toxic people. I have a guest room. Stay as long as you need. Marcus, I do not have money for a plane ticket right now. I will buy the ticket. Just pack a bag and get out of Connecticut. You need distance from your family. You need space to think clearly. I almost started crying. I appreciate that. But I do not know if running away solves anything. It is not running away. It is strategic retreat. Sometimes you have to step back to see the battlefield clearly. We talked for another 20 minutes. He made me promise to seriously consider his offer. I said I would think about it. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment surrounded by the wreckage of my life. No business, no money, no family, facing eviction, reputation destroyed, alone. I was staring at my laptop, looking at the eviction notice my landlord had emailed, when my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost did not answer. But something, maybe just habit, made me swipe to accept the call. Is this Fidel? A woman's voice. Older. Professional but warm. Yes. Who is this? My name is Helen Carmichael. I am an attorney. I represent your grandfather's estate. We need to talk about something that was recently discovered in your grandfather's original will documents. Can you come to my office tomorrow? It is rather urgent. I sat up straighter. What is this about? I would prefer to discuss it in person. Are you available tomorrow morning? Say, 10 o'clock? I had nothing else. No meetings, no clients, no obligations. Just empty days stretching ahead. Yes, I can be there. She gave me an address in downtown Hartford, and we hung up. I sat holding my phone, wondering what else could possibly go wrong. Or if maybe, impossibly, something was about to go right. Helen Carmichael's office occupied the 10th floor of a glass building in Hartford's financial district. I arrived 15 minutes early and sat in the waiting area, watching well-dressed people walk past with briefcases and purpose. I wore the best clothes I had left, a button-down shirt and slacks, trying to look professional despite feeling completely hollowed out. At exactly 10 o'clock, a receptionist led me to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Helen Carmichael stood from behind a large desk. She was probably 65, silver hair pulled back, sharp eyes behind frameless glasses, wearing a navy suit that spoke of decades of success. Fidel, she said, shaking my hand with a firm grip. Thank you for coming. Please, sit. I took a chair across from her desk. She settled back into her own chair and folded her hands, studying me for a moment. I was your grandfather's personal attorney for 30 years, she began. I helped him with his estate planning, his business dealings, and eventually with executing his will after he passed 8 years ago. Are you familiar with the details of his estate? Only what my parents told me. He left money in a trust to be split between me and my siblings. She nodded slowly. That is correct. But recently, something unexpected was discovered. My firm has been in the process of digitizing old files. Last week, my paralegal found a sealed letter in your grandfather's personal documents. It was marked specifically for you. It was supposed to be delivered when you turned 30. Through an administrative error that I take full responsibility for, it was never sent. You are now 32. She opened a drawer and pulled out a manila envelope, yellowed slightly with age. My name was written on the front in my grandfather's distinctive handwriting. She slid it across the desk to me. I think you should read this now. My hands shook slightly as I picked up the envelope. I tore it open carefully and pulled out several pages of lined paper, covered in my grandfather's neat script. Dear Fidel, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you have reached 30 years old. I am writing this on your 24th birthday, watching you at your graduation party, seeing who you are becoming. I am proud of you, more than you know. I need to tell you some things while I still can. I see you struggling with your father, with his need to control, to dictate, to shape you into something you are not. I see this because I see myself in him. I was a hard man, Fidel. I pushed your father the same way he pushes you. I demanded perfection. I accepted nothing less than complete obedience. I built a successful business, but I damaged my son in the process. Your father learned to survive by controlling everything around him, by demanding from others what was demanded of him. He does not know another way. I gave him that. It is my greatest failure. But you, Fidel, you are different. You push back. You question. You insist on your own path. This makes you the strongest of all of us. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. I am writing this letter to tell you about something I have done for you, something your parents do not know about. I have created a separate trust, just for you. It contains $200,000 in stocks in several companies I believe will grow substantially. This money is yours alone, not to be shared with or controlled by your parents. Not part of the family trust they will manage. I know your father will try to manipulate you through money, through obligation, through guilt. This is your safety net so you can be free of that. You do not need their approval. You do not need their permission. You can build your own life on your own terms. The trust is managed by Helen Carmichael. She has instructions to release it to you when you turn 30. Use it wisely. Use it to be free. I wish I could be there to see the man you become. But I know you will be remarkable. Not because you follow anyone's path, but because you forge your own. Be strong. Be independent. Be yourself. With love and pride. Your grandfather. I read the letter twice, tears blurring my vision by the end. I looked up at Helen, unable to speak. She gave me a small, sad smile. Your grandfather was a complicated man, but he loved you very much, and he understood what you would face from your family. He left me a separate trust? Yes, $200,000 initially, invested in stocks he selected. Over the past 8 years, with market growth and reinvested dividends, that trust has grown to approximately $395,000. The number hit me like a physical force. $400,000. Hidden away. Protected. For me. Why did you not find this sooner? I asked, my voice rough. It was an error on our part. The letter was filed incorrectly. I am deeply sorry for the delay. But you have it now. And there is more you need to know. She pulled out another folder. When your grandfather died, he named your father as trustee of the main family trust. That trust contains approximately $600,000 to be split between you and your siblings. But your grandfather included specific provisions in the trust documents. If any family member attempts to financially harm another family member or uses family resources to damage someone's reputation or business, the harmed party has legal grounds to contest the trust distribution and demand an independent investigation. She leaned forward. Based on what you have told me over the phone, and what I have been able to verify through some preliminary research, your father's actions constitute clear violations of these provisions. His interference with your business contract could be considered tortious interference, which is a civil wrong. The mass email with the recording, depending on context and content, could constitute defamation. These are serious legal issues. My mind was racing. What does that mean practically? It means we can take action. We can demand an audit of how the family trust has been managed. We can investigate whether your father has been using trust resources appropriately. And we can hold him accountable for his actions against you. She pulled out more documents. I took the liberty of doing some research after we spoke. Your father has been the trustee for 8 years. During that time, there appear to be irregularities. Large withdrawals without proper documentation. Investments made with trust funds that seem to primarily benefit your siblings. Possible misuse of trust resources for personal expenses. She looked at me seriously. Fidel, I believe your father has been mismanaging the trust. If we bring this to light, he could be forced to repay misused funds. The trust could be restructured with an independent trustee, and you would have significant leverage. I sat back in my chair, trying to process everything. My grandfather had protected me, had seen this coming, had given me not just money but weapons to fight back. What do you recommend I do? I asked quietly. Helen's expression became fierce. I recommend we take action. File a formal complaint about the trust mismanagement. Pursue legal claims for the harm your father caused to your business. Hold your family accountable for what they have done. You have been attacked, betrayed, and systematically undermined. Now you have the resources and the legal standing to fight back. She paused. But this is your decision, Fidel. Legal action against family is painful. It will be ugly. It will likely destroy whatever relationships remain. You need to decide what you want. Justice? Peace? Distance? What matters most to you? I thought about the last month. The humiliation at the restaurant, the threats, the business sabotage, Angela's betrayal, the recordings sent to my professional contacts, the systematic destruction of everything I had built. I thought about my grandfather's letter, about being strong, about being independent, about forging my own path. I looked at Helen Carmichael and felt something I had not felt in weeks. Clarity. I want justice, I said. I want them to face consequences for what they did. And I want to rebuild my life completely free from them. Can you help me do that? She smiled. Yes, I can. Let me get started. Helen moved fast. Within a week, she filed a formal complaint with the probate court regarding the management of my grandfather's family trust. She requested an independent audit and investigation into my father's actions as trustee. The court granted the request. I used money from my grandfather's separate trust to pay my rent, settle my credit card debts, and stabilize my immediate financial situation. For the first time in a month, I could breathe without panic crushing my chest. The audit took 3 weeks. The auditor was thorough. What he found exceeded even Helen's suspicions. Over 8 years, my father had systematically misused trust funds. He had taken over $100,000 for personal investments that had nothing to do with trust management. He had made loans to Angela and Derek without proper documentation or repayment terms. He had funded Travis's business expansion using trust money while claiming it was his own capital. He had charged excessive management fees, far beyond what was reasonable or authorized. The auditor's report was damning. Helen filed it with the court along with a motion to remove my father as trustee and appoint an independent professional in his place. At the same time, Helen helped me file a civil lawsuit against my father for tortious interference with my business. The legal term meant wrongful interference with business relationships. We sued for damages, not to get rich, but to establish accountability. My father's golfing buddy, Richard, the CEO of Hartwell Corporation, was subpoenaed for a deposition. Faced with the legal requirement to tell the truth under oath, he admitted that my father had called him and pressured him to terminate the contract based on personal family issues, not business concerns. He admitted that my firm's work had been excellent and that the termination was purely a favor to my father. That testimony was devastating to my father's defense. The defamation case regarding the recording was more complex. Helen worked with a communications expert who analyzed the email and the recording. They established that the context was stripped away, that the recording was from a private family gathering, and that my father's characterization of it as professional concerns was false. Several of my former business contacts provided statements that the email had damaged my reputation and cost me opportunities. Meanwhile, the criminal investigation into Derek's investment fraud moved forward. Angela, desperate to protect herself and her children, cooperated with prosecutors. In exchange for immunity, she provided detailed information about Derek's scheme. In her statement, she admitted something that shocked even me. My parents had known about Derek's financial troubles. They had encouraged Angela to use my situation to get me to invest. They thought it would teach me a lesson about trusting family. They did not realize the scheme was actually criminal fraud. They thought Derek would eventually repay everyone, and I would learn to be more careful. Their attempt to manipulate me had backfired into criminal exposure. 6 weeks after Helen filed the first complaint, the court ordered a mediation session. All parties were required to attend. My family, me, attorneys for everyone, and a professional mediator. I walked into that conference room on a cold Thursday morning. It was the first time I had seen my parents since walking out of their house. They looked older. My father's face was drawn. My mother's eyes were puffy from crying. Travis sat next to them, staring at the table. Angela was there with her own attorney, separate from my parents. The mediator was a woman in her 50s, calm and professional. She laid out the facts, the audit results, the lawsuit evidence, the criminal investigation, everything in black and white. Then she presented the proposed settlement. My father would resign as trustee immediately. An independent professional trustee would take over. The misused funds would be repaid to the trust from my parents' personal assets. The trust would be restructured to ensure proper management going forward. I would receive my full one-third share, approximately $200,000, within 60 days. Additionally, my father would pay me $75,000 in damages for the business interference. The defamation case would be settled with a written apology and an agreement that the recording would be permanently deleted and never shared again. The numbers were read aloud. My parents sat silent. Then Travis spoke. His voice cracked. "I am sorry, Fidel. For all of it. For the recording. For being part of this." He looked at our parents. "I have been miserable living under their control. Always doing what they wanted. Always being the perfect son. I recorded you because I was jealous. You were the brave one. You stood up to them. I never could. I resented you for being free." Angela was crying. "I am sorry too. Derek manipulated me, but I let him. I used you because I was desperate and trapped. I have been trapped for years in a marriage Mom and Dad pushed me to stay in. I should have protected you. You are my brother." My mother reached across the table toward me. "Fidel, please. I just wanted our family to be perfect. I wanted everyone together. I did not know how to handle you being different from what we expected." I looked at her hand extended across the table and did not take it. My father finally spoke. His voice was quieter than I had ever heard it. "I treated you the way my father treated me. Controlling, demanding. I thought I was helping you. I thought you needed to be pushed into line to be successful. I was wrong. It was not a full apology, but it was more than I expected." The mediator asked if I would accept the settlement terms. I looked at Helen. She nodded slightly. "Yes," I said. "On one condition. I want complete independence from this family going forward. No more manipulation. No more control. No more using money or guilt or obligation to dictate my choices. If we are going to have any relationship at all, it starts fresh with clear boundaries. Otherwise, I am done." My mother started crying harder. My father just nodded slowly. We signed the papers. The mediation ended. I walked out of that conference room with legal documents guaranteeing my financial independence and establishing consequences for what my family had done. Over the following months, things slowly changed. The settlement money came through as promised. Combined with my grandfather's trust, I had enough capital to start over completely. I took Marcus up on his offer and moved to Colorado. New state, new city, new beginning. I used the money to start a new consulting business, this time keeping it small and selective. I worked with clients who respected me, built relationships based on mutual trust, and grew the company steadily on my own terms. My nephew Jake reached out regularly. We talked on the phone every few weeks. He asked me questions about college, about independence, about standing up for yourself. I became a mentor to him. He told me once, "You showed me it is okay to walk away from toxic situations, even if it is family. You showed me that respect matters more than obligation." Travis started therapy. He called me 6 months after the mediation and apologized again, more fully this time. He admitted he had been living a life designed by our parents, and he was trying to figure out who he actually was. We talked cautiously at first, but slowly rebuilt something like a relationship. Not what we had before, but maybe something more honest. Angela, I kept at a distance. Forgiveness takes time. Maybe someday. Maybe not. I was not ready to decide. My parents I saw once a year at most, usually at neutral locations, for limited time, with clear boundaries. My mother tried to be more respectful. My father remained rigid but stopped trying to control me. We would never be close. But we could be civil. I learned things through that nightmare that I would never forget. I learned that respect is not given because of blood or age. It is earned through how you treat people. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away from people who hurt you, even if they are family. I learned that real strength is not proving yourself to others. It is knowing your own worth regardless of their opinions. My grandfather knew something my parents forgot. Control is not love. Real family supports your growth, does not stunt it. And sometimes you have to lose everything to discover you had everything you needed inside yourself all along. That night at the restaurant, sitting at the kids' table, I was humiliated. But walking out that door was the moment I became truly adult. Not because I was married or settled down by their definition, but because I claimed my right to define my own life. The greatest gift my parents accidentally gave me was forcing me to stand alone. Because when you can stand alone, you discover you are stronger than you ever knew. And when you build a life on your own terms, nobody can ever take that away from you. Family should be your foundation, not your cage. And if they cannot see your worth, that is their loss, not yours. I stand in my office in Denver now, 2 years after that dinner. On my desk sits a framed photo of my grandfather, the only family photo I kept. I am about to meet with a major client, a company that sought me out because of my reputation for integrity and quality work. My phone buzzes. A text from Jake. He just got accepted to his top college choice. He thanks me for believing in him. I smile. I have built something real, something true, something entirely my own. I am free. And that freedom is worth more than any family approval could ever be. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own self-respect? Have you ever walked away from people you love because staying was destroying you? How did you find the strength to stand alone? I would love to hear your story in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about finding strength in difficult times. And share this with someone who might need to hear that it is okay to set boundaries, even with family. Your support means everything. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you remember that your worth is not determined by anyone else's opinion of you. Stay strong, stay true to yourself, and never let anyone make you feel small. Take care.